Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I welcome you all the participants in our DS events calendar seminar. Today, the talk is from the Department of Sociology, and the topic is criminal investigation in Pakistan. The moderator, Dr. Bhutta, will moderate, and the one expert from the other institution will also give his talk and will brief our participants about the criminal investigation. Now we should start our seminar, and this talk will be about 30 to 40 minutes. Then we have question and answer session. And now I will request the speaker, Dr. Mazhar Bhutta, please introduce the guest, and we should continue our today's seminar.
Dr. Azam Khan, thank you very much. I am laudable.
Yes, you are laudable.
Thank you, Dr. Azam Khan. Thank you very much. This topic is very interesting, as you know that we have started criminology program in the Department of Sociology, and that is a success story of this university. So the topic is also very important, as we all know that criminal investigation is a very complex and tricky subject. As we all know that criminal intention and criminal offense, we have to establish that where the things are aligned and what are those factors and mechanism and strategies involved in commission of an offense. So this is very complex subject. So in this regard, I have requested a very eminent trainer, you can say. He has been advisor to many agencies nationally and internationally, and his name is known to almost all the criminal justice agencies in Pakistan and abroad. He has conducted, his name is Syed Rifat Abbas Shirazi, and he has conducted over 200 training on various subjects of counterterrorism, security, investigation, policing, and forensic. And he has also been member of national level joint investigation teams on a very high profile investigation cases in Pakistan, like first JIT with Scotland Yard, on Benazir Bhutto murder case, then bomb blast at Marriott Hotel, and UBL Tower, that was an arson in Islamabad, bomb blast case, and many other cases. He has also got a lot of certificates and training, appreciation letter from different criminal justice agencies in Pakistan and abroad as well. He is a national and international consultant and has extensively worked with UNODC. That is a very known component of the United Nations, worked on different kind of criminal investigation and other related subjects. So I request Syed Rifat Abbas Shirazi to please share his thought on this subject.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Sir Bhutta has been very kind, and I'm grateful for the thorough introduction that he have given me. I'm a least man, but he is my mentor and my teacher and my guide. I have done my criminology from this university a couple of years ago. So what I have in my knowledge, a part of it is from this university as well. So I am grateful to Sir Bhutta that he asked me for this, and it has been a great honor and privilege for me to do this. So jumping back to the topic. So our subject is criminal investigation in Pakistan. It's a very thorough subject. but I will try that we can cover it briefly in the given time. So I'll move forward as sir have already introduced me. So I'll skip this slide of my introduction. I have been a professional trainer and a capacity builder, and as you have already given a thorough introduction, so I'll jump onto the topic straight away. So in today's presentation, we are mainly going to touch three things. One, we are going to enhance our understanding about what criminal investigation in Pakistan is, how it began in Pakistan or subcontinent, how forensic and investigation groomed in Pakistan, and most importantly, how is it currently functioning in our country, and how are we running it through our law enforcement organizations. So most importantly, criminal investigation, it is primarily relevant to the investigation of the criminal cases which involves assault, robbery, kidnapping, murder, and terrorism cases as well. But there is a part of it which is relevant to the civil side as well, which is forgery and fraud and other things relevant to it, where a crime involves these things as well. So in criminal investigation, what we are primarily looking for is what may or may not have occurred, and then who may or may not have been involved, and most importantly, identification of the material and substance at the crime scene. So when we talk about the role of a law enforcement officer, I'll come back to what Pakistan is doing. That before that, I am trying to make up your mind about what this subject is and what we are going to understand. So when we speak about criminal investigation, a very important component which enables it, that is forensic science. Because everything about of criminal investigation, it evolves around the forensic science concept, and policing is very much related to this. So forensics helps us in criminal investigation to understand whether a crime has been committed and how it has been committed. Then the second question, how and when the crime was committed. And with the help of the evidences and how we examine them, we establish all of these things, and then who committed this crime. So these are all the things that we do with the help of forensics and different components in it: forensics, fingerprints, firearms, DNA, and many more things. So the forensic science and criminal investigation science, it is mainly evolving around three main principles. The first is Locard principle, which says that everyone who goes from a place, he leaves something behind and he takes something away. So it is the concept that works in the criminal investigation as well, that every criminal leaves a trace. So this is the first thing that is given to us by the Locard principle, and that is principle of saying that wherever you go, you leave something and you take something, like shoe print, blood, fingerprint, your fibers, and many more things in the crime scene. Similarly, the second concept is the principle of individuality. And that is that even though there are two objects visibly indistinguishable, and you seems to see that they are very much relevant and related to each other, or pretty much similar, but yet there are some things that make them different from each other. For example, we buy shoes from same store that are made from the same dye, but once we use them differently, two different people use them differently, the wear and tear in those shoes will get different. Even though they are same brand, even though they are same type, same size, but the wear and tear in them will make them different. So the second principle is the principle of individuality. And then comes the third principle, individualization, that if there are enough similarities in two objects, so it is not a coincidence, they are pretty much the same. So the criminal investigation science, it evolves around these three concepts. And that is how it works. So forensic science, the information that all we collect through it, that is used in forensic, that is used in courts for investigations and court proceedings to either collaborate or contradict. It is not necessary that criminal investigation is involved in proving someone criminal. It is at the same time involved in proving others innocent as well. So it works both ways. So it highlights, sometimes it only highlights a significance of certain objects in the crime scene, that it does not prove anything. It does not make anyone criminal or anyone innocent, but it does just highlights the significance of things. So that's how forensic play its roles to provide independent and impartial opinion. So when we speak about how it all started in the subcontinent or in Pakistan, where are we standing and how we began on it? So the beginning, as I say, even though it is said that the criminal investigation or forensics concept has just evolved around 200 years, but mainly the investigation was there in some sort of form. So we find some of its traces in the Quran, as in one of the verses of the Quran, there is a story narrated about how Hazrat Musa and his servant were walking around the river to meet another prophet. At one point, Hazrat Musa asked his servant to give that fish when they felt hungry, to eat it. And he said that at a certain point alongside the river, that fish went back to the river. And Hazrat Musa said that was the point where we were supposed to meet that other person, new person. So it says in the Quran that they went back while looking at their footprints. So the footprint science, when we speak about footprint science, the criminal investigation, it is the most innocent science, and it is something that has been used in the beginning. So we have traces of it in very old times. Similarly, we remember the story of Hazrat Yusuf, wherein their brothers come back to their father, and they tell their father that Yusuf has died, killed by a wolf, and they give his torn shirt, and their father says that this shirt is not teared by the wolf, and this blood is not of Yusuf. So in some way, investigations was going on. Even there is another story of Hazrat Yusuf, how he gets arrested, a culprit. And there was some sort of techniques that was available. Similarly, in the case of Hazrat Yusuf and in Bibi Zulaikha, the evidence, the circumstantial evidence that was provided was that the shirt was torn from the back side. Hazrat Yusuf's shirt was torn from the back side and not the front side. And this is something that made him innocent. So the science was working in some form, but the current form of forensic science or criminal investigation that we're looking in, it evolves around 200 years. Another prominent name just before the inventions of forensic science alongside that was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who wrote the stories of Sherlock Holmes. And in his stories, he envisioned few techniques and strategies and things that eventually proved correct when later on investigations were carried out. And his role and his novel were very close to reality and very realistic, and are considered a part of evolution of criminal investigation system. When we speak about how it started, so the first thing that was used was Sir Bertillon. He used a technique in 1914 that was the technique of hand measurement. So at that time, when they were supposed to get a criminal, they used to measure their hands and bones and fingers and everything, but this was not something authentic. So even though it was being used, but it was not quite successful, because it was difficult to ascertain sometimes. However, in subcontinent in 1859, there was a person, his name was William Herschel, and he was here from British government, and he was having some contracts with construction contracts and other form of contracts, and he started doing one thing when people were running away with his money, that he started taking the fingerprints and palm prints of the people. And after a gap of 50 years, when he compared them, he realized that there are no major changes in those fingerprints, and these fingerprints are quite similar to what he has taken 50 years ago. So this was the breakthrough that took place, and this breakthrough took place in the subcontinent through Sir William Herschel. Later on, getting use of this information, Sir Edward Henry hired two people. One was Khan Bahadur Azizul Haq, and other was Rai Bahadur Chandra Bose. He engaged both of these people to identify the classification of fingerprint. And so the classification of the fingerprint that we currently know, that was a major breakthrough, because fingerprint later on proved to be the most authentic evidence in the crime scene. So it was invented in the subcontinent, and Sir Khan Bahadur has the credit of developing a classification system for the fingerprints, which is still used all over the world. Even though American system of classification changed a couple of things, but mainly it is working on the same concept that Sir Khan Bahadur has provided. Henry, when he went back, when he had all the research in hand, and as he was the chief of police in Bengal, West Bengal, he went back with all that information, and he published a book in 1900 with the name of Classification and Use of Fingerprints. And he was awarded the name of Sir in recognition of his contribution. But when he came back to subcontinent, and when the Queen visited the subcontinent, he also made sure that both of these people, Chandra Bose and Azizul Haq, get some credit as well, and see they got awarded Rai Bahadur and Khan Bahadur's award. So there is still a memorial on the name of Sir Richard Henry, and he is considered to be the pioneers of fingerprint classification system all over the world. So the first crime scene that took place, that was also in the subcontinent, and that was at the same time in the West Bengal in 1898. So the first person who got arrested with the help of fingerprint, his name was Kangali Charan, and that person is mentioned in Henry's book, that the first person that got arrested because his fingerprint was identified in the crime scene. This fingerprint was in the crime scene, and this was his sample fingerprint, specimen fingerprint, which identified him as a culprit. So the first, we often hear about the forensic science, what we can say, Scotland Yard. Scotland Yard was the third bureau, fingerprint bureau. The first fingerprint bureau in 1899 was established in Calcutta at Hookley. The second got established in Philor, and then there was the third fingerprint bureau that was established in Scotland Yard. But what the dilemma is that we were not able to evolve our institutions, and they mainly remain as they were. So when the Pakistan got established, so we never had any forensic lab initially, but we had one lab got established with all those staff from the Philor Academy. We established one forensic science laboratory that was in Peshawar. And eventually then we had chunks of people going around in the Karachi and Quetta. And so we got established few forensic labs. We got one forensic lab established at Sihala, because the person who was running that laboratory, he was also from the Peshawar laboratory. So eventually we got established, but we are still far behind in this, and we need a lot of things to do. So when we speak about the criminal investigation in Pakistan, I hope everyone is hearing me. I'm not going too fast. Am I audible? Hello? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sima. Okay, so we have around 15 police organizations in Pakistan right now. 9 of them are under the federal government, and remaining 6 are under the provincial governments that are working. Similarly, we have around 9 facilities that are helping us. Excuse me, the last one is King Edward and not Kind Edward. So we have Punjab Forensic Science Agency, that is the most established forensic science agency in Pakistan. Then we have National Forensic Science Agency, then Forensic Science Laboratory in Peshawar, Regional Forensic Science Laboratory Sawat, Forensic Science Laboratory Quetta, Karachi, and then there are a few universities and colleges that are assisting us in forensic science and helping us out in managing our things. So when we speak about anything that happens, the first thing is to establish the offense, and the very first thing when we speak about is the registration of FIR. So when the police hears about a crime, they look for certain things to establish a crime and to chalk an FIR. And those things are, first of all, the intention, that there should be a malified intention to commit a crime. Then there is an action performed against it, and there is a motive to perform that action. Then facts are collaborating with everything. Then rights of some person are being taken away, and the modus operandi, of course, that has been applied. And as I said, that rights are deprived. So when all of these 7 things are there, that offense is considered a cognizable offense. That offense that is cognizable. So the process is that FIR must be chalked if an information is provided, and I'll come back to that. But before that, I'll just give you a highlight that what are the main processes that are involved in criminal investigations. So the first is start of investigation, in which involves the reception of information for FIR. FIR is registered, or otherwise it is denied. And there is an alternate way to go for that, and I will speak about that as well. Then commencement of FIR investigation in the light of FIR. And there are section of CRPC from 154 to 176 that enable investigation officer, that empowers him as well and bounds him as well to work against an offense that has been committed. In non-cognizable, there are procedures that are different. In non-cognizable, you will have to go to the court to get the permission to engage police in something. And then eventually we have investigation at the crime scene, in which we collect the evidence and pack them and send them to the laboratories and perform different functions similar to this. Then becomes search and recovery other than crime scene. That is search of culprits, their houses and other things, to recover the relevant evidence and everything. And then is arrest of the culprit, and otherwise, if he is found innocent, release of him. So the first information report, when we talk about FIR, anything which is cognizable, the main thing that we need to understand here, that most of the civilians are unaware of it, is that police is bound to chalk an FIR when somebody comes to them and tells them about an offense, and that offense is cognizable. Police cannot deny to register an FIR. They are bound to register the FIR through police rules as well and through CRPC as well. They both bound them to chalk an FIR. Practice is different, however. We see often that the FIR is delayed, and that is mainly because our Roznamcha, the daily diary, is also a couple of hours behind. Always, whenever you go to a police station, the daily diary is always going a couple of hours behind. It is not on time. Similarly, the chalk of FIR is also late, and the delayed FIR, police do that for the reason to minimize the burden of their work. And there are multiple other reasons for that. They have their own justifications, which may or may not be right. So when we speak about an FIR is something which has every information related to the cognizable offense, and which is provided by the victim or someone relevant to the victim, or even registered by the police in itself. In the cognizable offense, it is not necessary that victim himself should come to the police and he should tell about an offense. Even if someone else inform about that incident, police is bound to respond because the offense is cognizable, and therefore action is mandatory on the police to perform. In non-cognizable, police can direct them to the courts, and things can be managed differently. If police deny the registration of FIR, the alternate is to go for the 22A through court, 156 CRPC through courts. You get the permission from court, and court orders the police to register the FIR. And this is the alternate remedy which you can use. And even if the magistrate does not give you this right, you can go to the higher courts to obtain this right as well. Article 99 of Constitution. So in non-cognizable offense, information is recorded by the police, but FIR is not chalked. For chalking an FIR, a written permission from the court is required. So police station officer can inquire about that incident further if it is a non-cognizable offense, to understand whether how much true it is and what needs to be done about it. Coming back, if an information is false, no, you have every right to get registered an FIR, but at the same time, if the information is false, you can also be pursued by the police against you, even though it is also not practiced in Pakistan, but this is there in laws and can be followed. So the on false information, FIR can be chalked about against that person who provided that false information, and he can be pursued as well. So FIR mainly consists of reporting time, name of the complainant, state of offense, and description of the offense, and where the offense. Every chunk of information that is written here is important to be brought onto the FIR, because it has its own. This is the most important document, because from the lower courts till Supreme Court, you cannot take away the FIR from the case file, and everything is seen in the light of the FIR. And that's why if an FIR is not chalked correctly by a police officer, it is quite possible that the culprit can get free, because whatever the court will judge in the light of the FIR that has been written. So when we speak about the essentials of a crime, it is important to see what information has been conveyed, what is the sequence of those actions, who committed those crimes, against whom those crimes are committed, then when the crime initiated, where did it took place, what motive was behind it, the way of occurrence. And these are all the things that are mandatory to be mentioned in the FIR. So basically, once an FIR gets registered, we move forward, and we move forward to the other aspects of the crimes, that is to cover up the crime scene. And when we speak about the crime scene, the first and foremost important is the safety, then the rapid response, because everything may be evidence, so it must be preserved. If you are a layman and you are standing at a crime scene where a crime has been occurred, so the best thing you can do is to make sure that nobody enters that place, and to notify the relevant authorities so that they come in time and take over everything. So moving onward, mainly when a crime occurs, there are multiple kinds of people who are responders to these incidents. First of all, most importantly, the general public is always the first to arrive at the crime, and then becomes the rescue 115, ambulance services, fire brigade, other first responders, traffic police if the incident is on road, then bomb disposal units if it is an anti-terrorism event, investigation officers, then again they join us later, because an investigation officer is only enabled once an FIR is chalked. Then the forensic experts to look into the crime scene for the evidence as well, to help them in establishing about the evidence and everything. If the crime has occurred in some military jurisdiction, so there we have military police, intelligence police, and other authorities involved. And then, of course, we often see that print media and electronic media reaches at the crime scene as well. And then the prosecution if they wish to. So these are the stages. The first stage in which the general public arrives at the crime scene and police arrives, and then becomes, if it is a counter-terrorism and high-profile incident, anti-terrorism incident, then we see bomb disposal unit arriving there. Then comes the investigation officers of police or CTD, then forensic experts, then police stations, other staffs. So respectively, that is how it works. So the most important things at the crime scene are to preserve the life, supporting the victim, ensuring the integrity of the crime scene, ensuring the personal safety of all, securing the witness and recording the statement, and so on and so forth. So it goes on. So crime scene is a place where all the crimes has taken place. So the procedures that I am telling you, these are all the procedures that are currently running and functioning in Pakistan. You might think, few of you might think that you do not see the entire practice of this in Pakistan, but it is important to understand here that this is how the law defines the things to be performed. And there are organizations that are doing it with the help of Punjab Forensic Science Agencies and National Forensic Science Agencies and other agencies. We have been able to perform our duties in a better way, and we are seeing things developing to a better direction, but still it's a long journey. However, things are going towards a good direction, and as people are getting aware about the things, the police is getting more responsible as well. So, crime scene where the crime has been committed. So, crime scene examination is performed at the crime scene to identify the evidence to establish something that is relevant to the crime scene. So there are three main types of crime scene. One is outdoor, then there is indoor crime scene. I hope both of you understand this. Outdoor is the crime scene which is an outside, in some on roadside and other outdoor facilities, and indoor is in some house or in some building, and then is conveyance on some road path and other things. Then the divisions of the crime scene, there is primary crime scene, then there is secondary crime scene, and then third is disposal side. Primary crime scene is the place where the main crime has been committed. Secondary crime scene is usually that place where some evidence relevant to the crime scene has been identified that relates to the crime scene. For example, a crime occurs in Faizabad, and we go to the house of culprit and we find the pistol in his house. So this house is the secondary crime scene. And third is the disposal side. If somebody murders someone else and dispose his body at another place, that is mostly called the disposal sites. So the first thing before entering any crime scene, even as a layman, is to stop and look around. Don't rush to help anyone unless you understand your surrounding, unless you understand what is going on in your surroundings. Because if you rush without understanding anything, you might be a victim yourself. So one needs to be very careful. This is for everyone, every responder, the law enforcement and the general public as well. So this is the procedure that is being followed, that is to be followed. Stop, look, listen. If you hear something, some odd voice, something, observe, smell, if you smell something odd, and remember the theory of the transfer. That is that you are there to in the crime scene to help someone, but instead of doing any help, you damage everything at the crime scene. So this is going to be fatal as well. So the most important thing is to cordon the crime scene. And there are different types of cordon that are used. Mainly the crime scene cordon is used. Then if there is some biohazard or danger, we use the caution biohazard or in others. Normally, if there is nothing wrong, the police cordon is used to stop the people, just in the need of stopping people from going someplace. So we usually advise 3 crime scene cordons. 2 are inner and outer cordon, and third is traffic management cordon. You must have seen 2 cordons, but third cordon is not proper cordon. The only thing we see in our country in practice is that our traffic sergeants are deputed and they physically stop people from entering that direction and they divert their traffic. So that is actually the traffic police role. So that is how it is performed in Pakistan. One important thing is that you cannot enter in the crime scene from any direction. There is a fixed direction to enter the crime scene. There is a fixed direction to enter the crime scene. So you will enter from that direction and you will exit from that direction. And that is the place from where you will find the minimum evidence damage in the crime scene. So here we have inner, outer cordon. So once the crime scene is cordoned, we move on to many other things. There are many things that we don't understand. The blood at the crime scene, the weapon at the crime scene, the bomb. Even, I mean, there was one great person or bomb disposal legend in Peshawar that he used to go to the every bomb disposal sites and he passed away a couple of years ago. And what happened that he went there to dispose the bomb, and he disposed the first one, but he was not able to understand that there was another pressure type bomb under that bomb that he disposed, and as soon as he lifted that bomb, the other one blasted. So things are not as it is. If the one blast has taken place, it doesn't mean nothing else is going to happen. If one crime has been occurred, it doesn't mean nothing else is going to happen there. So you need to understand that anything else can happen at this place, that place as well. Similarly, when you enter a crime scene, when you handle some injured peoples, there is a danger that there might be some chemical, infectious blood or anything else which can contact you if you are entering the crime scene unprepared. So one needs to be careful, and there is a whole paraphernalia that needs to be worn when you are supposed to enter the crime scene. Because the crime scene is not a layman's job, it is a specialized job, and it does not have a restricted time. There is no time limit when you speak about the crime scene. But we have seen often in the past, in many cases, for example, as we have been part of the JIT, so the crime scene of the Benazir case was already preserved. So what we witnessed in that case, that in initial 40 minutes, there was no one to cordon the crime scene. Nobody was there to cordon or cover the crime scene. And in the next 40 minutes, the whole crime scene was covered and evidence was collected and it was washed out as well. And which eventually was not the right thing to do, because they never collected enough evidence from the crime scene, and it later on turned out to be a disaster for every one of us. So it is very important to understand, to see that the crime scene is an endless job. Processing is an endless job, and there is no time limit attached to it, because there is multiple type of evidence: biological, latent, footprint, tire marks, traces, digital evidence, tool marks, drug evidence, firearm. And it is mainly relevant to the type of crime we're talking about. So there are many evidence at the crime scene. So we classify evidence in different types: direct or indirect. Direct is that is mainly relevant to the happenings of the crimes, and indirect is that proves someone's existence, nothing else. Similarly, there is documentary evidence and witness testimony. Then there is digital evidence, forensic evidence. So we find evidence at three places. One is at the crime scene, second with the victim, and third is with the suspects, and we call it the crime triangle. If we are able to connect all three of them, we are going to establish something about the incident that has taken place. So the first R in any case, in any crime, is very important, because if the first R is wasted, if the first R is not productive, if the first R, the crime scene, is not properly preserved, everything shall be lost. So that is what we teach every one of our police officers here, even though there is still dilemma of blade practices and everything, but this is what the principle speaks about. Similarly, the section 2558 of police rules that we follow in Pakistan speaks about carrying a crime scene kit when you are entering a crime scene, and you cannot go in like barehanded. So this is how we train. But there are other things which we can talk about some in another session, why we are going through these troubles that crime scene are not properly preserved. So the first thing first, when you enter the crime scene, you go through crime scene search, and the crime scene search is not just a layman's things. There is a procedure defined for it. So there are different ways of doing the crime scene search. The first is link, then is the wheel. Then we have the line and strip method, and the grid method, and the zone method. So this is the method that is commonly practiced in Pakistan, but this is the one that is personally my favorite, that is also in practice in Pakistan, that you divide your crime scene into different zones, and if you first you process one zone and then you jump onto the other zone, and every evidence that is established from one zone, that is preserved, and then you move on to the other zone. So this is a very good. Now we often hear about the use of sniffer dogs, and we see that being used in our crime scenes as well. These were first used by Sir Henry. Then again, that happened in the subcontinent. But there is important thing to understand that if the 4 hours have passed, then the use of that dog in the crime scene has nothing to do, because the scent gets evaporated and it is of no use to bring the dog to the crime scene. And we often see that 2 days later, you brought a dog to the crime scene and that dog takes you to the house of the neighbor and you see something else happening around them. Even though that neighbor has nothing to do with that crime, but it's happening. So the dog technique is only usable if you can get them at the crime scene within the 4 hours. And if nobody else have touched that, you see this bag at the crime scene and he's asking the dog to sniff it. But if somebody else have touched that bag, the scent will mix with that other scent, and the dog will get confused, and it would be very difficult for that dog to tell about who is the culprit. So at the crime scene, physical evidence can be anything. That can be a massive thing as well as a micro trace. So when we speak about identifying the evidence, the first thing is, when you identify the evidence, you start marking those evidences. These can be some impressions, some prints, and some things on the ground as well. So we do the marking and then we start doing the photography. This is fingerprint developing. This is the photography session. He's putting a scale alongside it to take the photographs. And this is, he's picking up the cigarette butt with the tweezer. So police, under the police rules 2533, is bound to take the photographs. And there are judicial decisions of 2017, 2018, and even 2020, which enable the police to use the photographs and videos as an evidence in the court. So they are pretty much usable as an evidence in the court, and subject to the fact that if the defense says that these videos or photographs are tampered, that can be handed over to the expert for analysis, and he can bring back the opinion that whether those photographs are original or not. So the police at the crime scene is bound to take the photograph of everything and every process that they are performing, to let the court and others know that they are doing their function transparently. So they are bound to take the photographs of the crime scene, long shot, medium shot, and close-up shot. This is close-up shot. Then we move on. The next step in it is crime scene sketch, in which the crime scene sketch only involves the main components of the evidences that are relevant to the crime scene, the main things, objects that are most important, not everything at the crime scene. So the police usually make the rough sketch at the crime scene, and later on the finished sketch is drafted through the help of sketchman or draftsman or patwari. So once the evidence is collected, every evidence is recovered in a way that the time, the location, and then how sensitive that is and how that needs to be handled is supposed to be written on that. And the police officer, the IO, needs to put an identification mark on that evidence cannot be replaced, and that needs to be properly sealed. So there are different kind of evidences and they are handled differently. We have different kind of packages. For example, the biological evidence like blood, DNA, that are never packed in a airtight parcel, that are normally packed in paper bags so that they are not damaged. Then we have these plastic bags for non-biological evidences, cupboards as well. So we use this. Then these are tamper evident tape, that if these tapes are pasted on the evidence and somebody tries to open that evidence pack, the tape will tear and that will not that will not get sealed again. So there are different ways for the packing the evidence. These are few of the examples. Now this knife is carrying the fingerprint. Similarly, this pistol is also carrying a fingerprint. So there is a different procedure for knife and or other articles that have the fingerprints. They are packed differently. And if that object does not carry the fingerprint, it is packed differently. So once we are done with that, we do the documentation that is relevant to the crime scene sketch and exhibit that are recovered. Every photograph log is maintained, and victim descriptions and arrest memos are prepared at the crime scene. Then the recovery memo is prepared. And when we speak about the case file that wholly contains, so moving onward, once we have the FIR registered, then we go at the crime scene for the map of the crime scene and video and everything. The evidence that we have collected, we make a further recovery of that, and further of identification. If somebody is identified at the crime scene and if the culprit is arrested later, a Shanakht parade is performed and he is identified. Similarly, every function that police officer performs in the crime scene and in the investigation, he is bound to prepare a diary of it. That is called case diary. And that the same information needs to be brought onto the Roznamcha as well, which is called daily diary. So both of these diaries are made part of the police case file. They're related to this and they're submitted in the court. Similarly, other medical examination documents and details are attached to it. Road certificates are attached, identification certification. So these are all the things that are attached to the case file. Postmortem report, further recovery, if somebody dies, dying statement. If some expert opinion is obtained, the further of that opinion. So these are all the documents that are contained. So this is how the criminal investigation is mainly performed in Pakistan. Now I will ask you if there is any question. You can come back to me with the questions. Thank you so much. Sir, Bhutta साहब.
जी जी मैं सुन पा रहा हूँ.
Sir, if किसी ने कोई सवाल करना है तो सर I'm open. I'm done with my
जी
lecture.
बिल्कुल मैंने भी सुन लिया. हम मेरा ख्याल है 4-5 सवाल ले सकेंगे क्योंकि टाइम ऑलरेडी काफी
No
हो चुका
problem,
है.
sir. No
तो
problem.
4-5 सवाल जो हैं वो आप कर सकते हैं. कोई anyone of you please come on.
सर इजाजत है रेज हैंड करें या?
जी जी बस आप सवाल. जी जी
सर यूनुस here, can I ask a question?
Sir, Ustad Mohtaram, please.
उस्ताद यूनुस खान ਤੁਸੀਂ सवाल ना ही करो तो बेहतर है.
नहीं सर, पर मुझे कमेंट करने का मौका दें. I am really impressed with the.
हाँ यूनुस खान आपके कमेंट ले लेंगे क्योंकि जाहिर है आप ही इसी दश्त के मुसाफिर हैं. मेरे ख्याल बच्चों को सवाल करने दें.
I must tell that Sir Yunus Khan is my teacher, my mentor, and a very, very, very established person.
Let me.
So I am honored to. I am embarrassed that in his presence I am doing this. He is much more than me. He is way more than me.
You should be proud, and I am really feeling proud.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
And I'll just give me 1 minute that Yunus Khan is additional director in NAB, and he usually remain with us, and criminal investigation as a subject, that is the expertise of Mr. Yunus Khan. So I welcome Yunus Khan to this conference. So सवाल बच्चों को ही करने दे यूनुस खान साहब.
ठीक है सर.
Okay,
बिल्कुल ठीक.
जी any question? मेरा ख्याल है कोई सवाल नहीं कर पा रहा. डॉक्टर आजम खान सुन पा रहे हैं?
जी मैं सुन रहा हूँ.
ओके फाइन. डॉक्टर साहब कोई सवाल नहीं आ रहा, मुझे ऐसे लग रहा है कोई काफी लोग हैं.
Yes, if any person have a question, please
okay
raise hand or write in the chat room. Mazhar, please unmute the mic if any person have the question can ask.
सर अनम्यूट है माइक, मैम को कहेंगे अनम्यूट करके स्पीक कर सकती है।
ठीक है, ठीक नहीं।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम सर, मेरा क्वेश्चन
जी प्लीज सिंह आप।
सर मेरा ये क्वेश्चन है कि जैसे कि हम एक जनरल पब्लिक है जिनको इतनी क्राइम के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं है, तो हम
जी, जी।
कैसे इस चीज को हैंडल कर पाएंगे? जैसे कि हमें तो इतनी बेसिक इन्फॉर्मेशन होती है, अगर बेसिक भी नहीं दी जाती ज्यादातर तो ज्यादातर पता भी नहीं होता। लेकिन अगर हम
जी।
किसी ऐसी जगह पे हैं जहाँ पे क्राइम हो जाता है और हमारे पास क्राइम
जी।
के लिए डील करने के लिए कोई किट नहीं है, तो हाउ कैन वी डील? प्लीज गाइड।
जी जी। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल तो पहली बात तो ये है कि यू हैव नथिंग टू डू विद द क्राइम सीन हैंडलिंग। जो आपका सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट रोल ये है कि आपको अगर पता चल जाता है कि आपके इर्द गिर्द कोई एक क्राइम अकर हो गया है, तो फर्स्ट एंड मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग यू नीड्स टू डू इज कि आपने किसी को भी अगर तो कोई मजरूब है, कोई जख्मी है, तो उसको आप ऑब्वियसली फर्स्ट एड प्रोवाइड करेंगे। लेकिन अदर देन दैट आपने मेक श्योर करना है कि कोई भी चीज जो कि जाए वकूआ पे या क्राइम सीन पे मौजूद है, उसको उसकी जगह को, उसकी पोजीशन को अल्टर ना करें। अगर आपको लगता है कि somebody इज डेड एट द क्राइम सीन और उसको मूव करने से कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, तो फिर जल्दबाजी करने से बेहतर है कि आप उस जगह को कॉर्डन ऑफ कर दें एंड पुलिस को इन्फॉर्म करें, रेलेवेंट अथॉरिटीज को इन्फॉर्म करें। और दोनों सूरतों में, इवन इफ अगर आप किसी जख्मी को फर्स्ट एड प्रोवाइड करते हैं, आपने क्राइम सीन को प्रिजर्व करना है इस तरह से कि जो भी चीज आपको मिल जाए कि आप किसी की एंट्री रिस्ट्रिक्ट कर सकें उस जगह पे, कि कोई बंदा उस जगह पे दाखिल ना हो, और रेलेवेंट अथॉरिटीज को कॉल करें। और ये पुलिस का और रेलेवेंट अथॉरिटीज का काम है कि उन्होंने अपना रोल कैसे परफॉर्म करना है, क्योंकि ये उनकी ड्यूटी है। अगर एक इंडिविजुअल, एक आम आदमी क्राइम सीन के साथ इंटरवीन करेगा तो दैट इज एक्चुअली अ क्राइम। सो ये आपका काम नहीं है कि आप क्राइम सीन के अंदर, इवन मीडिया पर्सनल्स भी जब वो एविडेंस को टेम्पर करते हैं क्राइम सीन के अंदर, तो वो एक्चुअली जो है ना खिलाफ कानून काम करते हैं। सो किसी भी आदमी को क्राइम सीन के अंदर मौजूद किसी भी चीज को बगैर किसी वजह के छेड़ने की इजाजत नहीं है। हाँ, अगर आप किसी जख्मी को फर्स्ट एड प्रोवाइड करने के लिए कोई हरकत कर रहे हैं तो दैट इज समथिंग दैट इज कैन बी यूज्ड इन योर प्ली। एनी अदर क्वेश्चन जी?
मेरा ख्याल है शिराजी साहब कोई सवाल नहीं आ रहा,
सर
कोई सवाल नहीं आ रहा। और मैं यूनुस खान को वेलकम भी करता हूँ। आज इनका मुबारकबाद का भी दिन है। प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान,
सर बिल्कुल सर,
थैंक यू।
प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान ने इनको बेस्ट इन्वेस्टिगेटर का आज ही अवार्ड दिया है। तो यूनुस खान बहुत बहुत मुबारक हो आपको।
थैंक यू सर।
और कुछ बात करना
सर he is indeed the best investigator, sir. I know him,
No
sir,
doubt.
for quite a
Thank
while,
you so
and
much.
अभी यूनुस खान पे बात कर लें। जी
जी सर।
सर इट इज एन ऑनर, और उस ऑनर से भी बढ़ के एक ऑनर ये है कि हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी के जो एक फेलो भी हैं, हमारे स्टूडेंट भी हैं, शिराजी साहब, ही हैज गिवन अस सच अ गुड सेशन एंड लेक्चर, और आई रियली एंजॉयड इट। मैंने पूरा अटेंड किया है, कोशिश की है। मेरा सर जो क्वेश्चन भी था या कमेंट भी था, वो सिर्फ पब्लिक उसके लिए ही था कि अक्सर हमारे यहाँ ये एक सिनेरियो है कि जब FIR कट जाती है तो एक वर्ड यूज किया जाता है कि जी दाखिले दफ्तर हो गई है। तो शिराजी साहब से मैं ये क्वेश्चन करूंगा कि जब ऐसा कोई सिनेरियो आ जाता है और उसके बाद जो कंप्लेनेंट है या जो विक्टिम पार्टी है, जो इफेक्टी है, उसके पास क्या रिजॉर्ट है कि वो उसके लिए क्या, कौन सी ऐसी सेक्शंस या कौन सा ऐसा तरीकाकार इख्तियार करे कि उस इन्वेस्टिगेशन को दोबारा से अलाइव किया जाए, या अगर हमें कोई न्यू एविडेंस मिल जाती है तो हम उस पुरानी FIR को कितने अरसे तक दोबारा से इन्वेस्टिगेशन प्रोसेस में इन कर सकते हैं?
अच्छा सर, एज यू आर स्पीकिंग, इसमें 2-3 क्वेश्चन है आपके। पहली बात तो सर ये है कि नॉर्मली तो प्रोसीजर ये है कि वंस FIR इज चॉक्ड तो पुलिस इज बाउंड के उन्होंने 14 दिन के अंदर एक चालान सबमिट करना होता है। और अगर वो चालान 14 दिन के अंदर कंप्लीट नहीं होता तो वो इम्पार्शियल चालान कोर्ट के अंदर सबमिट करते हैं। और वही चालान जो है अगर उनको उसके अंदर एक्सटेंशन ऑफ टाइम चाहिए होती है तो वो कोर्ट की तरफ से उसको एक्सटेंडेड टाइम उनको मिलता है उसके लिए, और दैट इज हाउ इट इज परफॉर्म। तो अदरवाइज अगर आपको मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम ये होता है कि हमें ये फेस करना पड़ता है कि जी IOs के ऊपर एलिगेशन लग जाते हैं और केस जो है वो लिंगर ऑन हो जाते हैं बिकॉज ऑफ दिस रीजन के जनाब पुलिस अपना फंक्शन परफॉर्म नहीं कर रही होती। तो देर इज, एज आई सेड सर, कि अगर तो आप बिफोर FIR रजिस्ट्रेशन की बात कर रहे हैं तो उसमें तो मैंने मेंशन किया था कि हमारे पास ऑप्शन होती है कोर्ट से जुडिशियल ऑर्डर लेने की, दैट इज 28(2)A। लेकिन विद इन द इन्वेस्टिगेशन तो फिर हमारे पास ये अल्टरनेट ऑप्शन होती है कि विद द हेल्प ऑफ द कोर्ट हम आईओ चेंज करवा सकते हैं और इन्वेस्टिगेशन ऑफिसर चेंज करवा सकते हैं और उसको फर्दर री इंक्वायरी करवा सकते हैं थ्रू द सीनियर अथॉरिटीज विद इन द पुलिस एज वेल। सर
थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू सो मच। बस
Thank you
मेरा
so
यही
much.
था, क्योंकि ये एक बड़ा मेन कंसर्न होता है, ज्यादातर लोगों को ये प्रॉब्लम फेस करना पड़ता है। इवन आफ्टर एफआईआर भी ऐसा सिनेरियो आ जाता है कि
जी बिल्कुल आता है
चालान होता
सर,
है और
बिल्कुल
डिस्पोजल
सर।
नहीं हो पाता। तो आपके
जी
ख्याल से
सर।
कोई लाइफ टाइम है एफआईआर की, कोई लिमिट है कि एफआईआर दर्ज होने के बाद कब तक उस केस को टेकअप किया जा सकता है?
सर नॉर्मली तो 3 महीने का टाइम होता है मेरे ख्याल में, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, एंड यू आर अ टीचर ऑफ इट एज वेल, सो यू आर अ लॉ नोइंग पर्सन, सो इफ आई एम रॉन्ग प्लीज करेक्ट मी ऑन दिस।
मेरे ख्याल से जो एफआईआर है, ये क्लैरिटी बहुत जरूरी है कि उसका कोई लाइफ
जी
टाइम
सर।
नहीं है। लेकिन वैसे प्रैक्टिस में कुछ केस लॉ से पता चलता है कि अप टू 50 इयर्स तक वो मैटर दोबारा टेकअप किया जा सकता है इन केस ऑफ फाइंडिंग एनी एडिशनल एविडेंस। तो
राइट सर, राइट
क्योंकि
सर।
यहाँ पे ये एक टेंडेंसी है कि एफआईआर कट भी जाए तो उसके बाद भी कई चीजें ड्यू टू लैक ऑफ एविडेंस उनको छोड़ दिया जाए। तो
बिल्कुल सर,
अगर
दैट इज
आप
एडिशन टू
दोबारा
माय
टेकअप
नॉलेज
करना
एज वेल।
चाहें, यस,
थैंक यू सो
तो
मच सर।
वो
Thank
एनीवे
you.
माय ओनली कमेंट इज के मजर भुट्टा साहब को बहुत कांग्रेचुलेशंस के हमेशा वो ऐसे सेशन करते हैं और अल्लाह ताला उनको जो है ना मजीद अपनी इस कंसिस्टेंस और परसिस्टेंस एफर्ट में जो है वो कामयाबी दे। आई एम रियली ग्रेटफुल एंड वेरी
आमीन,
ऑनर्ड टू बी
आमीन,
पार्ट ऑफ द सेशन।
आमीन,
थैंक यू।
Thank
आमीन।
you.
थैंक यू सो मच सर,
Now,
थैंक यू सो मच।
now I would request to the Director Advanced Study, Dr. Azam Khan, for vote of thanks.
Especially, I am very thankful to the speaker, Shirazi Saab, for sparing your valuable time for our students and the faculty members. It was a great session, and especially the faculty member from the educational institution not know many things which we understand today with this talk. Shirazi Saab, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I
Thank
will try in future. I will request the Mazhar Bhutta, please arrange such type of session physically, and I will help you. We want to arrange at campus for our students, especially for the professional, master, and PhD students to learn about this. It is the some kind of our habits, our practical life things we are facing in our daily life. We should learn about it, not only the science, we also learn about our living practices and living problems which we are facing in our daily life. Thank you, Shah Sab. And this our talk is already recorded and will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. Any student who is missing this talk, we can share this and also can take benefit from our recording available at our university.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much, sir.
Dr.
Thank you
Azam
so
Khan.
much.
Thank you, Shirazi Saab. Thank you, my
Most
students,
welcome, sir. My pleasure.
Khan, and all my colleagues. Thanks a lot.
See you
Thanks a
on the
lot.
next seminar. Take care.
Allah Hafiz.
अल्लाह हाफिज।
अल्लाह हाफिज जी।
Allah Hafiz.
शिराजी साहब, डॉक्टर साहब, बहुत बहुत मुबारक हो आपको इस सेशन की। और